Well, welcome back, Gems, to another episode of the Grateful Gem podcast. I'm the host, Jasmine Shannelle, and today we're talking about finding your identity. Stick around because gems are definitely about to be dropped, so get ready. I need everyone listening to this podcast episode to follow us on Instagram at the Grateful Gem Pod and also follow me at Jasmine Shannelle. Don't worry, I spelled everything out and left it in the notes below. Take a look. See you there. Now let's get into this episode. Welcome back, Gems, to another wonderful episode. I'm so excited. This topic is really important to me because there's a special mission behind it. So I really want to get into this. I really hope that it helps as many people as possible because that is honestly the goal. So I really don't know if a lot of people are battling with finding their own identity and knowing who it is that they are. But if you are, you're in the right place because I have just the information that you need to help you find out who you really are, who God created you to be. Because I know that for me, for a long time, I had problems knowing who I was, having my own identity and being able to feel like I was, someone that mattered or feeling like I was someone that made a difference. So now that I'm older, I understand and I grasp on things differently and I know who I am. I know who God called me to be. I know my purpose and I know what I bring to this world and I know what I bring to others. So I just want to help everyone also uncover that information for themselves because I feel like that's very important. I feel like if you don't know who you are, how do you know if what it is that you're doing is God called or if you're even supposed to be doing what it is that you're doing? So I really hope this episode helps you guys. And because I'm so dedicated to making sure that you guys hear what it is that God is telling you and hear what it is that you need to hear to know who you are, I've decided to make this into a 4-part series. So I really am excited about this episode genuinely. I know I say I'm excited about all of the episodes, but I'm definitely genuinely excited about this one because I think this is more close to home for me. So I think that there's a lot of stuff that you may also uncover about yourself that you may have not even known, and it may reveal a lot of things that you may be questioning and don't really understand. So I'm really excited about it. Again, this is going to be a 4-part series. It's going to be called F.Y.I, Finding Your Identity. This is crazy because I initially had another episode that I was going to record, and this all changed within the last 24 hours. So I'm super excited because I know that this is not a self-imposed thing. This is a God thing. And I feel like the next episodes after this series will be definitely right on time. So I'm going to save that episode for that unless God steers me into another direction. So I'm super excited. Let's get into this. So today we're going to be doing part 1 of the F.Y.I series, and part 1 is called Dear Me. So this episode is just an episode that's going to speak to you specifically. It's going to help you understand who you are, where you are, and how to endure where God is taking you, and to realize that where you at is where you're supposed to be. You could be anywhere else, but you're where you are because God has paved out a plan for you. He's made a way for you, and He's been there the whole time. And I know that sometimes it doesn't seem like, God is on our side. I can honestly attest to that. It doesn't seem like, God's there. You hear all these scriptures and you hear all these sermons about how God loves us, how He doesn't hurt us, how He does things in our best interest. And then when you go through something, or something happens to you that you weren't expecting and it takes a big toll on you, and now you're back at square one trying to figure out who you are, trying to figure out where it is that you're going, what it is that you're doing, because you weren't expecting the thing that happened to happen. And again, I can honestly attest to this because, as you guys know, previously I talked about losing my dad. Again, it wasn't like this was the first person that I've ever lost in my life, but this was the one that took the biggest toll on me because, one, it was unexpected. Two, I was just not prepared because, as I stated before, my dad was my go-to. He was the person that I could call for anything. He helped me through life. You know, he was there 24/7, and to not have that and to go from having someone to hold your hand and walk you through life to going to a point where you have to do it on your own, figure it out on your own, make decisions on your own was a bit of a change for me. So, I honestly, as I told you guys before, I lost three years of my life because I was lost. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I felt like God didn't care about me. I felt like He didn't love me. I felt like I was out here in this world alone because I wasn't expecting that drastic situation to happen to me. You know, you hear about it all the time, and I really didn't expect that to be something that would be in my biography. You know, like I think about sometimes like our life is a book, and if you sit down and if another person read your story from beginning to end, like how would they be impacted by your story? And I really think that we all have our own story and it's very unique. And I feel like, you know, everything happens because God plans it out for us. And there's honestly nothing that goes unnoticed by God or nothing that goes that God doesn't know about. Everything that happens is happening for a reason. And we have to learn from those things and we have to take those things and grasp from them. And I know a lot of people say this, like, you know, you learn from your mistakes. But honestly, I was one of those type of people that didn't learn from mistakes. I continued to make the same mistakes over and over. And that's also what helped me to get where I am now because I was tired of making the same mistakes, tired of doing the same things over and over, literally having the same friends or being in the same relationships, dealing with the same situations over and over. And I'm like, why does this look so familiar? And then when I thought about it, I'm like, girl, it's familiar because you already been here. It's just a different person or it's just a different situation. Like, you have to want better for yourself. So, it's sad because when I think about it, it's like I'm 27 now and I decided to really dedicate my life and commit to having the God first life, when I was 26. So last year. I don't get me wrong, I've always believed in God. I've always known that He's there, He loves me. There was some points in my time where I felt like, you know, He wasn't there, He didn't love me. So, but I grew up in the church. I know about God. I read the Bible on my own. You know, as I got older, I searched for a long time to find a church home that was for me, and I struggled with that. And that was a moment where I also felt like maybe I'm searching for something that doesn't exist. Because around that time in my life, that was like the mantra of my life. Like, people was telling me like the stuff that I wanted to do or the things that I was looking for didn't really exist. Like, the relationship I wanted didn't exist. The church that I was looking for, there was just not a church like that ever. The friendships that I wanted, people was like, oh girl, you know, your standards are just so high, you need to come down to earth. And I'm just like, what? Like, am I living in a fantasy world? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. So that also played a part in my own identity because the person that I wanted to be, I was afraid to be because everyone around me was telling me that the person who I wanted to become, that I could never become that person. And I never really realized how much that took a toll on me. So I started leaning to trying to do things like the way that other people would do them, or trying to get away with things that I knew was not right, but I still did them because it's like, okay, well, this person doing it, like, why I can't do it? They're a Christian, they love God, why I can't do it? So, you know, I feel like it may sound crazy, but it's just like, this is really real. Like, you don't really understand how much someone's opinion or something that you want to do is shot down by other people. If you don't believe in yourself enough, and you have people that don't believe in you at all. So if you don't have enough confidence to believe that what it is that you're believing for will actually come true, then it most likely will deter your thoughts. And that was me. That was the story of my life. Like, I wanted all of these things and people were constantly like, girl, your standards are too high. You just need to come back to earth. And I'm just like, okay, well, now what? So I started taking like bits and pieces from like what I saw or what, what I was used to, and just basically settling. Like I settled when it came to finding a church, because I had kind of stopped looking for a church when I found my church home. I honestly did stop looking for a church home. I went to church, but it was at a church where I knew the message, I got the message, but I just knew that it wasn't a church for me. I went to a lot of churches, and I was just like, no, this isn't, like, it's not nothing against the church, but I know that God didn't leave me there. And when I found my church home, I was just like, wow, the church that I wanted did exist. And it's like that very moment that you give up looking for that very thing is when it finds you. And I just feel like that's all a part of life. Again, I looked for a church home for the longest, and I didn't find one until 2014. I found my church home. I began to go Sundays, go to small groups. I was doing a lot in that church, and I did a lot of stuff that I could never imagine myself doing. And I was just like, wow, this is so awesome. Like, this is what I've been looking for. A place where I feel at home. A place where I know who I am. Like, this place helps me realize who I am. It helps me understand where I'm going. And I don't have to question anything because it's here. And I started to think about, like, wow, like the very thing that I was looking for, people told me that it didn't exist. So I lowered my standards and settled for years. I had started looking for a church home in like 2010, I think, maybe earlier than that, but 2019 is when, 2009 to 2010 is when I really started getting on the spiritual journey and trying to find out who I was. And from that point on to 2015, I was just going to churches that, were good. Their messages were good, but it wasn't a church for me. And I was just like, okay, I kind of gave up. So I was just like, wow. And I was thinking about something the other day, and I'm just like, we really get lost in who we are by being consumed with what other people say we are. So we take on the things that people expect over our lives, and we don't really know what it is that we want from ourselves. Or we do know what we want from ourselves, but we don't fully understand how to get there, because you may not have, everyone doesn't have a community around them that is solely believing in them. Everyone doesn't have a person that understands where it is you're coming from. And I feel like even if your backgrounds are the same, there's still differences, because I've had conversations with people that have the same background as me, and we still differ on a lot of things. And I thought that was crazy, because you hear the whole, I came from the mud, or we came from the dirt, we from the hood, that kind of talk. And it's like, you honestly gonna vibe with a person from the hood or from the mud, a person that went through the struggle. So for me, I was just like, this is crazy. Like, you hear this and it's like, I can't click with y'all. Like, yeah, we from the same neck of the woods, but our mindsets are totally different. And I think it's because you have the ability to either get out of that mindset or you don't. Like, you're going to have that mindset no matter where you go. So, yeah, you can come out the hood. You can get in a nice neighborhood, but you still going to have that hood mentality or that poverty mindset. And that is honestly, you guys, something that really annoys me. I hate a person that wants better, or has better, but they don't appreciate it, because they always like, oh, I deserve this because I came up from nothing. I started from nothing, started from the bottom. Now I'm here. Like, what? Like, this is crazy. And I'll just be looking at people like, what are you saying? Like, first of all, you don't deserve anything, because at the end of the day, we don't owe God or this world anything. And when people have that mindset, it's just like, to me, you're so ignorant. That's just my own opinion. And not saying that if you have that opinion that you're ignorant, but in my opinion, with the people that I've talked to, I just feel like, and it's just like the stuff that they say after that, it's just like, you're so ignorant. Like, you're telling me that God owes you this. Like, God, you don't even own your life. Like, you don't have to be here right now to even be making this comment, but that's a whole nother episode. But anyways, back to what I was saying. So yeah, I feel like, it doesn't matter how many people you talk to that have the same background as you, that come from the same neighborhood you did, or went through the same stuff that you did, that everyone's situation is different. And it's honestly, I found that the people that came from my same background are the people that I really don't click with. They don't really understand my way of doing things, because I don't always want to be a person that is struggling financially. I don't always want to be a person that has broken relationships. I don't want to be a person that can't fully raise my kids correctly. I don't want to have kids and then my kids go through what I went through. So in order for me to keep that in line, I have to get myself together. I have to be prepared, and I have to work on things that maybe my parents didn't work on, or their parents didn't work on, so it was passed down. So I'm trying to break generational curses, because I don't want to be in a situation that I'm regretting. I don't want to be another number in the system. Like, I want to beat the system. And people that have my background or came up like me, I would think that they would understand that. And honestly, you have a lot of people that has been through a lot, but it's like, you went through it for what? Because you're still going through it. Like, you have not learned anything. And I never really understood that. And I know every person is different. So, everybody's mindset is not shown. And again, you don't have like a community that builds you up. But I feel like you're your own advocate. Like, you have to sign and co-sign your own checks. You have to be there for yourself more than others, because when you allow other people to lead you, you may be led astray. So you have to really know what it is that God is calling you to do, and know what it is that you're wanting to do, and know where it is that you're trying to go in order to get there. So I feel like for me, my life took a big turn. I went down a lot of roads that I felt like I didn't even have to go down, because I was trying to do things my way, or the way that I saw other people doing it, because the standards that I had according to everybody else were too high. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy, because I can't tell you how many situations I've been and they're like the same situation. And I sit here and I'm like, why do I keep going through this? Like, why do I keep having this same issue with this different person? Or why do I keep doing the same thing in this certain time? Like, why am I steady going through this? And I feel like my life from 2012, or honestly like 2010 to 2017. Yeah, 2010 to 2017. So 7 years, I felt like I just literally wandered. I literally went in circles. Literally. I feel like my life was literally the same thing over and over. And at that point, I was just like, okay, what's really going on? Like, why am I going through this? And so I had to get serious about what I wanted. And I started to build my momentum up about what I believed in and what I wanted, the standards that I had over my life. And I believe that God also wanted to meet those standards for me, because God does not want to see us go through the things that we had to go through. He doesn't put that in our life to harm us. He puts it in our life to better us. So if we come out of a situation that was supposed to better us and we're harmed, that's because we didn't pay attention to what it is that was being told to us. And I can honestly vouch and say, you might be like, that don't make no sense. Like, girl, you talking out the side of your neck. But hear me out, because I felt like that too. I felt like I kept going through the same thing. And I'm just like, God, you just don't like me. Like, you have to hate me, because why am I still going through this stuff? From family issues to school to money to dating to vehicles, like to so many things. I'm just like, why do I keep going through the same thing? And I just really had to figure out what it is that I wanted and figure out who I was. So I definitely feel like if you don't know who you are, you have to figure it out before you start getting your life together. Because if you wait to find out who you are after you're married, after you have kids, after you have this job, after you get this car, after you build your credit, like if you wait and figure out who you are after these things, you're going to be like, I'm telling you, it's not going to be good. Like, you're going to be in a marriage with somebody, and then it's just like, there's going to be issues there because you didn't really know who you were. Now you have kids, and they don't know who they are because you don't know who you are, and you don't know how to properly raise them because you don't know who you are. You don't know how to properly love your spouse because you're just not finding out who you are, and you may feel like, I'm not ready for marriage. Now I have to go work on myself, and it's oh man, it's a lot. And I think for me, that's on a personal level, because again, like I said, I want to break generational curses. So it's like, I don't want to be in broken relationships. I don't want to be no more broken. Like, I feel like I went through a season of hurt for 7 years, and that's a long time. And even before then, because everything's happening before my dad passed, and I just feel like I went through a long suffering of hurt, and I didn't learn any lessons. And the more I thought I was learning lessons, the more I just figured out I was just not learning, and I was doing things my own way. So I feel like finding your identity is the first step. Knowing who you are. If you don't know who you are, how can you say you know where you're going? And before you get in a relationship, or before you have kids, or before you start venturing out on a career path or trying to make millions, you have to really know who you are. You have to be wrapped in who your true identity is, because what if you're chasing the wrong things? And if you're chasing the wrong things, how are you going to prosper the way that you see fit? And that could really harm you more, because it's like, I'm doing all this stuff. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then you find yourself, and God's like, I didn't even put you on this path. Like, you're not supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. So then it's like you may feel like, oh, I'm starting all over. Now I got to start from scratch. But I guarantee you, once you start from scratch and you go the way that God shows you, it gets easier. And when I say easier, I don't mean like easier to do it, but easier to understand if you're making the right decisions or not. Because you hear people that talk about, yeah, I gave my life to God and, it's just the best life. And I just feel like, I'm not going to say that's not true, but it has its moments. Taken from me, it has its moments. There's moments where I'm up, there's moments where I'm down. And I hear God so clear now. So it's like, when I hear the Lord and I disobey, I'm convicted immediately. Like I said, this podcast episode was not going to be about this topic, but God convicted me so much yesterday, and I feel like I don't feel like everything is a sign, but the things that don't make sense and I can't make sense out of them, I'm like, okay, God, what are you trying to tell me? So I take it, I ponder on it, and then I pray about it. And so when I prayed about it, God just started revealing all the stuff to me. I'm like, okay, cool, let's go, let's do it. But it's a process, because it's just like, if you can't hear God and if you can't hear what He's saying to you, how can you know how to go about doing what it is that He put you on this earth to do? And definitely, how can you do that if you don't know who you are? If you're not capable of doing what it is that you're in the path of doing, that's never what God put you to be. How can you say that that's who you are? And I get like, oh geez, I can't even get into this episode like the way I want to, because it's not even my thing to do. But I just feel like you have to be like, I see so many people where you get wrapped up in friendships, or you get wrapped up around family members, and you have people that take other people's situation and make it their own. And I can honestly vouch and say that this was a thing that I did a lot. It's like, if something happened to me and it just happened to my friend, I'm like, oh, this is bound to happen because it happened to them, and it's definitely gonna happen to me because birds of a feather flock together, and da-da-da, like all these crazy mantras. And I'm like, no, birds of a feather do not flock together, because I have all type of different friends, and at the end of the day, we all have different interests, we all have different mindsets, we all have different looks, we look different. There's some things that attract us, but we don't attract on every level. Like, you can't check off the box on everything. And I feel like we bring our own uniqueness to the table. And so I found myself, like along high school, I was trying to be more of a person that fit in instead of standing out, because I was always painted as like a person that was weird, or a person like not awkward weird, but like weird in like the things that I believed in, or the way that I wanted to do stuff. People just was like, it was unheard of. And I'm like, what? Like, this is crazy. Like, the stuff you talking about is unheard of, but I ain't finna go there. But yeah, so around high school, I kind of like changed my mindset to like how everybody else was thinking. So it was like, I did a lot of stuff that honestly I probably would have never done had I stick to what it was that I wanted to do and what it was I believed in. And being real with y'all, like, for sex, let's just get real. So like, having sex. So if it was up to me, I would still be a virgin right now. I'm just gonna put it out there. But I feel like peer pressure is so real, and you don't really, like, nobody like pressured me into having sex, but I feel like in my mind, I'm like, I didn't know who I was, so I'm like, everybody else is doing it, like, I can do it too, so let's just, whatever, literally, let's do it. I hope I'm not being too real with y'all, but, I like to keep it 100%. So yeah, like, that's how I felt. So at the time, I was just like, this is cool. Like, I fit in. And so when we have a conversation with the girls, or we having girls out and everybody's like, oh, girl, da-da-da. I'm like, yeah, girl, because, what I'm saying? Like, it was like a phase of I don't want to be left out. But it was like, you should have been left out. And now I look back on it, I'm like, bruh, if I could go back and erase time, that would be the number one thing that I would honestly change. Like, I would wait till marriage to actually have sex, because it ain't even all, like, I'm still not a person on sex. Like, I don't have to have sex. I don't have to, like, do that. I can be with somebody and not be sexually active, because that is just a part of relationships for me. That's not what attracts me to a person. What attracts me to them is their mindset, the way they talk, the way they carry themselves, the way that they look at life. And a lot of people in its own think that's weird. It's like, what, girl? Like, you don't care about sex? I feel like with sex, you can change that. Like, that's something that you can change. And with other stuff, your mindset and stuff, it's like, I'm not a counselor, so I'm not finna be sitting here trying to change your poverty mindset or change your negative. Like, if you get around a person that's so negative, you're gonna consistently consume that, and at some point you're gonna turn around and be that person. So it's like, I'm not finna sit around you. All you do is complain. You're not grateful for anything. All you do is look negatively at your situation. Your family or your friends have so many input. You don't have a say over your life. And I don't want that for myself, because you take some traits from your friends and the people you hang around. And I think that now I'm more aware of that. So I'm picky with who I deal with. You know what I'm saying? I have the same friends, and I've lost friends, I've lost relationships, because of that very reason. Because it's like, God, like, we've been through enough. Like, you still hurt, or not hurt, but you're still sitting here ungrateful, complaining, criticizing, and I'm not that type of person. So that annoys me, because I feel like you just don't get it. You're never gonna get it. You don't get it. And it's like they're the person that always wants better, but then it's like when they get better, they still want more. So it's like you're never gonna be fulfilled in life. And I feel like that's just the insecurity that we have on the inside of us, because we don't know who we are. That's also like, I was talking to my friend the other day, and she was telling me about this guy that she's talking to, and how he's like a dude that flodges things. And I also have another friend that she was talking to a guy that had that same thing. And I was like, wow, I think, me personally, in my opinion, I feel like a person that stands outside of, being who they are, and they have to constantly remind you of what they have, is a person that's insecure. And that insecurity may have came from them being in a relationship, and they were being their exact who they are. They were being themselves, but that person didn't fully accept them, or that person hurt them, or that person was like, why you act like that? Like, you got money but you don't flaunt it, or you got a good car but you don't drive it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got all these shoes but you don't wear them. You got all this stuff, you don't even post them. So now it's like, you that person. You the person that posts all the stuff you have. You flaunt your cars off. You flaunt your money off. And it's like, you weren't even that person. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, for me, I can take stuff and unpack it in like 2.5 seconds. So when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, that's only an insecurity. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I don't have insecurities, because I do. Y'all already know my insecurities. So don't even go there with me. But for real though, I feel like, stuff like that is definitely a cry out for insecurities, because it's like, you don't know what happened, but something happened. You have to know it's deeper than, oh, I just make all this money. Or a person that just consistently talks about themselves. That's a person that didn't have confidence back then, but now they have the confidence. So now they were too afraid to talk about themselves back then, but now all they want to do is talk about themselves. And it's like, okay, I'm happy for you. I'm glad you're finding yourself, but everything isn't about you. So you have to know how to scale back and balance it out. But I think that also comes from, if you didn't have that confidence, or you couldn't accept yourself because you didn't know who you was. And again, I'm telling y'all, this is like, this whole thing is so dear to my heart, because I'm telling you, like, it took me forever to really find out who I was. In not middle school, but high school, I can remember going like clothes shopping with my parents. And I never forget, I saw these jeans, like, y'all know the jeans that Nicki Minaj had on the 80 Biggie P video? Yeah, they had those in rainbow, because back in the day, rainbow was popping. So I'm trying these jeans on. I'm like, oh my God, everybody's wearing these jeans. I want them. And so at the time, like, I would wear like a 13, 14, but it depends on the clothes, because y'all know me, if you know me personally, or if you see me, I have hips. So I've always had hips and thighs and butt. So it's like, you can't get in some jeans that's really 11, 12, but you wear 13, 14. So it's like, or not even, because I could fit in some 11, 12s, but I really was a 13. It just depended on how the pants were cut. So these particular pants, they were supposed to be like a 15, and they did not fit. So I literally am in the... I can laugh about it now, but back then, let me tell y'all, I was not laughing. It was not funny. And I was in the dressing room, and I literally broke down in tears, and my dad comes in. He's like, baby girl, sweetheart, what you crying for? And I'm like, these the jeans, and I just can't see that. And my mama was like, are you serious? And I'm like, what? Like, I feel like I get my unemotion from her, because sometimes I can be so unemotional. I'm like, I have no sympathy for pity, and I'm like, I get that from her. And my daddy was laughing too, so I probably get it from both of them. Literally, like, my daddy was there like consoling me, but my mom was just like, are you serious? Like, you crying about you not getting some jeans? But she didn't understand. Like, she didn't understand my mindset. He didn't understand either, because he laughing, and I'm like, he consoling me and trying to act like he cared, when really he had the same mindset she had. But that's because they really didn't understand what I was going through. I was battling who I was as a person, because all these people, like, smaller than me, all these people, look different from me, and I know that, we're all cut from a different cloth, but it was just like, I just felt so fat. Like, I really did. And I was just like, I just hate this. I don't want to go to school. Like, I hated school shopping. And as I talked to you guys before, and being insecurely comfortable, if you have not listened to the episode, you should definitely listen to it, because it definitely will help you with this process as well. But in that process, I talked about how from high school up, I bought clothes like 2 or a size bigger, and that was why I did it, because I was insecure about my weight. I was insecure about, like, the stuff that I wore. I'm just like, and I was like, I just could not believe that happened. And I literally was in the dressing room, boo-hoo crying. And I was like, you know what, let's just get out of here. Like, we in this cheap store, y'all don't know nothing, we just finna go. So we left, and we didn't go shopping that day. We tried again the next day, and I had a more successful day. But that day for me said a lot, because it was like, here I am crying because I can't get in these jeans. And recently, I was looking, my sister bought me a laptop for Christmas, so I have my old Dell laptop that I've had since 2010. It had a lot of my high school pictures. It had a lot of my baby pictures, like a lot of my, like, younger pictures. And if you follow me on Instagram, you saw in my story, I posted some of those pictures for Throwback Thursdays. And I thought it was crazy, because you see me in those pictures smiling and just like, cheese, like, ah, like, and really, I didn't, on the outside I was smiling, but inside I was depressed. I ain't gonna say I was depressed. I was just not, I didn't like who I was. I felt like I was the biggest thing in the world. And if you saw those pictures, I was not. I literally weighed like 193 in high school. Or not, no, I'm not. I weighed 183. And I think the most I weighed was 190. But think about 180 pounds on a 5'9" female. Like, I was tall, so I was skinny. And when I look back on the pictures, I'm like, God, I didn't realize I was so small, because at the time I felt like I was so fat. And now I'm like over that size, and I'm like, I don't even mind it. Like, of course I want to lose weight a little bit, because I want to tone my stomach, sometime fine. But all the other stuff that I used to cry about, I'm like, now I look at it, I'm like, Jasmine, are you serious? Like, you a bone straight in this picture. Like, there's somebody, and I actually, my best friend, he pulled up like our MySpace pages, and I found like a whole bunch of pictures on there, and I'm like, God, I was so skinny. And you couldn't have told me that. Like, back in the day, you could not have told me I was skinny, because I felt so fat. Like, I literally did. I felt so fat. And people, like, I hated it, because, like, in school, people would be like, oh, girl, I love your shape. Like, you're so pretty. And I'm like, Like, I really didn't really know how to react to that, because I'm like, no, you don't even know. The struggle that I have to go through finding clothes that comfortably fit. Like, I have huge feet, so putting on shoes or finding some cute shoes that don't look terrible. Like, oh my God, high school was a struggle for me when it came to, like, clothes and, like, everything. But I don't know. But yeah, I think that was the biggest time that I was really struggling with who I was, because I was comparing myself to everybody else. Like, one of my good friends, she was a lot smaller than me. She was shorter than me, so I kind of compared myself to her. One of my best friend that I had from middle school, she was shorter than me. She was smaller than me, and I was just like, man, like, and then, like, dating wise, we're not gonna even get into that. Like, people were I wasn't. I don't know. I just, like, even now, I'm like, my dating life has just always been the same. Like, at the end of the day, boys are weird, men are weird. Like, I've always had that mindset. So it's just like, I kind of don't really care about that. But like, when they were dating, I wasn't dating. And then like, when they weren't dating, I was dating. But it wasn't like, so I was just like, kind of battling with that. Cause I'm like, I don't really know, like, this dating thing. Like, I really don't want to be dating, but everybody else is doing it. So, I'm telling you guys, I was in a everybody else is doing it kind of mindset. So, it's like, okay, everybody else doing it, I'm going to do it too. Because I felt like this is what I had to do to find out who I was, or to fit in, or to make myself feel somewhat comfortable in who I was. When really, I could have just really been myself, and that would have been cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could have really just been myself, and I would have been happy with that. And now I don't care. Like, if you know me personally, I don't care. At the end of the day, I'm me regardless. I can't change that. And now I embrace who I am. I love my personality. I have a lot of flaws, as you guys know. I talked about that in my last episode as well. That God revealed a lot to me in those fasts, but I've changed those things and I made them for the better. So I'm definitely a person that embraces who I am. Yeah, I'm not where I want to be, but I love who I am, and I really am excited, really, 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 about these next 3 episodes, because they talk about that. I can't even tell y'all the next topic, but man, it's gonna be good. So y'all gotta tune in, because I already literally have my notes, and that's how I know this wasn't a me thing. Like, this was literally from God, because I literally got all this information in 2.5 seconds. Like, you can't tell me that I did that on my own. There's no way I did that. Are you loving this episode? Great. Don't forget to leave your feedback by rating and leaving a review on Apple iTunes. Also, don't forget to subscribe anywhere, wherever you're listening to this podcast. And make sure that you follow us on Instagram to keep up in the know of what's going on with the podcast. Okay, let's get back to the episode. So yeah, I'm definitely excited, you guys, and I really, like I said, this just hits home for me alone. So I feel like at the end of the day, if this helps at least one person, I'm good, and it's helping me. So y'all just adding on to it is like a bonus. But if I help at least one person, that's awesome, because like I said, I struggled with identity for a long time, because I was so wrapped up in who people wanted me to be, or who I thought I had to be. Not even who people wanted me to be, but who I thought I had to be in order to like who I am. And now I'm just me, and I love me for who I am, and I don't care how weird people think I am, or I don't care how people think like you just think too far into stuff, because I know that the things that I do are done for a reason. And a lot of things now I really understand. And like I said, those things back then took a big factor on who I am today, because like I said, with the whole buying clothes things, I buy clothes bigger, because I feel like, girl, stop playing with yourself. Like, even if it's my size, I'm gonna go up another size, because you never know. Like, it still, kind of sits with me in a different way, but I embrace it. I understand now. So now I'm just more cautious in that point. And I feel like, I'm, like I said, in a few of I'm going to link all of those in the description box so you guys can listen to it, because I talk about all of that, and about how, I really just, when it came to clothes, I literally would buy bigger clothes. I would always wear jackets because I hated my arms, but I was so skinny. It's just a lot of stuff that happened back then that affect me to this day. So yeah, but I definitely think that you guys ought to find out who it is that you are. Not who Sally is, not who Robert is, not who's Barbara is, or Mike, but who you are. Who are you individually? If all of those people that have influence in your life was removed, who would you be? Would you be somebody, or would you be nobody? Because if you're consumed with who they are and they leave you, you're somebody, but you're nobody, because you don't know who you are. Or at least that's how you're going to feel. And you're not nobody. You're somebody, because God created you and you're here. So I want you guys to figure out who it is that you are, because that's very important. And it's not only important for you, but it's important for your family. It's important for your kids, because when you know who you are, you know how to move forward in life. You know how to do things the way that they're supposed to be done versus the way that other people see fit. Like I said, when I lost my dad, I lost 3 years of my life. That's really when I started gaining weight because I was just like so stressed. I gained weight. I really started like being insecure because I wasn't the person that I used to be, and I didn't know how to deal with that. I really didn't know. I was lost. Like, I literally could not function because I didn't know how to get myself from point A to point B without having to call my dad. So I had to figure that out, and it took me like 4 years to do that. So in those 4 years, I lost who I was, or not who I was, but I lost who I thought I was and found who I was because I was identified through that process. You know what I'm saying? I lost him, and through that, I was just like, I have to figure out who I am. And I started to honestly just do things differently. And every year since then, I've been like just crafting myself, or crafting me and sculpting me in a different way, because I know that I have the potential to be so much more than who I was. Like now, the way I look at dating or the way I look at friendships is not the way that I looked at it back then, because it wasn't really my view in the first place. It was somebody else's. So now I'm really living the life that I'm normal with. Like, it doesn't bother me now because this is how I 100% felt about it in the first place. So I feel like if I had just stuck to the way I wanted to do things, or the way that God created me to do things, then I would have been off in a better situation. But I didn't. I was so consumed with what everybody else was doing, or what I felt like I had to do to fit in, that I let a lot of my standards, and really all of my standards, down. And now I'm just like, nah, we ain't doing that. We don't have no more time to be wasting on people, whether they're relationships with dating, family, friends. We don't have time. We're not doing that this year. We're not doing that no more. So I really feel like when you find yourself, you find out what you're going to allow and what you're not going to allow. Not only from other people, but also from yourself. Like, what are you going to do about finding out who you are? And when you find out who you are, I'm telling you, there ain't no going back. When you know who you are and really own that thing, there's no going back to you being somebody else, or you taking on a part of, I'm half me, but I'm them. Like, no, you're going to be you. And I really think that that's important, because you need that. You need you to get you where you're supposed to go. God needs you to get you where you're supposed to go, and for you to get other people where they're supposed to go. So if you're trying to pull people and take them where you're supposed to go, and you don't know who you are, where y'all going? Nowhere. You ain't going nowhere, because you're taking the people where other people took you, and that's not down the path that God wants you to go. So I definitely feel like you have to find your identity. So this episode is just to speak to you. You know what I'm saying? That it's definitely speaking to me, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that saying out loud just makes more sense now, because when I think about it, I'm like, this is crazy. And I really didn't really start thinking about this until I start seeing those pictures. And I'm like, gosh, like, I look at this person, I'm like, I don't even know this person. Like, yeah, anybody that knows me, like, I'm always laughing, I'm always smiling. But if you knew the person that I used to be, that wasn't always the case. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a lot of stuff that I was battling inside that I never spoke about. To this day, there's no one that 100% knows what went on in my mind. There's a lot of times where I felt just alone. I felt insecure. I felt abandoned. I felt like, and I talk about that too when it comes to relationship. I had a strong standard of relationships because I had so much abandonment issues, and I don't even know like the abandonment issues where I know where that came from, but it took me till now to figure it out. So we're not doing that no more either. So I feel like I was overachieving in those standards and setting unrealistic standards to certain aspects in dating, because of I was afraid that, of like rejection. Like, people didn't really accept me for who I was, because I always had to find myself being somebody else to be able to be liked. And now I'm just like, listen, this is what you get. You get me. So if you don't like me, oh well. Like, that's just it. And I really, I like who I am. I love who I am. And, back in the day, people would just be, I remember in high school, like, I used to take pictures all the time. And people just like, you just so conceited. You got all these pictures of you on your phone. And who says they wallpaper has them and they screensaver? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, but little did they know, I was so insecure then. So it was just like, what you talking about don't even make sense. Like, you sit here talking and you don't even know what you're talking about. But before then, I had all the confidence in the world. Like, before, like, 10th grade, I would say, I was really a really confident person. But I also think that came around with the people I hung around, the people I dated. I dated a lot of insecure people, and that really took effect on me because I started caring about stuff that I never cared about. And even now, I find myself thinking about stuff and caring about stuff that I never cared about, and the real me would never care about but because that insecurity fell onto me. Now I find myself just trying to like stay away from that. Like, no, Jasmine, like, you're enough. You're not going to keep sitting here being insecure about something that you really don't even care about in the first place. And I think it also comes from a mindset perspective. Like, you have to have your mindset ready to prepare for finding your identity. And when you find it, you have to have the mental stability to keep that mindset, because I'm telling you, your insecurities will creep up on you, and you'll be going from having a great day to loving yourself to knowing that you're called, you're powerful, you're everything. I'm enough. You know the affirmations. You'll have yourself saying that, and then 2 seconds later you're like, but am I really enough? If I'm enough, why this ain't happening? Or if I love who I am, why I ain't did this yet? Or why this ain't happening? If I really found who I am, why I'm not past this yet? And that's just, I'm telling you, man, your mindset have to be on point, because if not, you'll slip right back into the person that you used to be, which is not you. And it's crazy because I never want somebody to look at me and say, like, I knew that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like passed it. Like, oh, I don't know this person, but I knew the old you. Because if you say that, then you never knew me. You know what I'm saying? Because the person I used to be, that wasn't me. That was everybody else. That's just like when I went to high school. I went to F.Y.I Randolph, and I took up cosmetology. I didn't want to do hair. I only like doing hair because I used to do my dad and my sister's hair when she was younger. And I used to do my mom's hair. I knew how to do hair, but that wasn't my passion. But because everybody mostly in my family took up hair, like literally my mom, my aunties, my cousins, literally all of us did cosmetology. So I felt like, this is just what we're supposed to do. My grandma was just like, you need to go to school for cosmetology. Your mama did it, your auntie did it, your cousin did, like, you just need. And I was just like, okay, so I went to that because I really didn't want to go to First Coast. Let's just go put it out there, because that was the school that was in my network, and I really didn't want to go there. So I was like, okay, well, to not have to go to First Coast, because I go there in the mornings anyway, I didn't want to go to First Coast or whatever. So I ended up going to F.Y.I Randolph. And I used to have to catch the bus to First Coast in the morning, which I hated, because I'm like, all these people I went to middle school with, I hate y'all. And then people that you know from like middle school were there, I'm like, I hate y'all too. So yeah, so I used to go to First Coast in the morning, then go to F.Y.I Randolph, but I never wanted to do hair. Like, I didn't, like, to this day, I know how to do hair. I do my own hair now because I just don't have time to wait on other people, but that was never really my passion. That was just something that I like to do, and I felt like when it got serious and I started studying for it, and it just took away from what it meant to me. And then especially when my dad passed, I'm just like, yeah, no, the hair thing got to go, because like, he believed in me on that part. He bought me a dryer, he bought me a salon chair. I lost all of that stuff. And so I was just like, yeah, I don't really have a passion for this anymore because he's not here. And then it was just like, I didn't really want to do anybody's hair anymore. And then like, I found myself doing these one girl's hair, and I did too much. And now I get like, I don't know if it's like carpal tunnel or I don't know what it is, but like when I do like singles twists or something like kinky twists or like braids, my hands cramp up really, really bad. And that's also another reason why I don't do hair like that anymore, because my hands cannot stand it. And I'm just like, it hurts so bad, and it doesn't go away like immediately. So if I do my hair, it takes me forever. So just imagine me doing somebody else's hair now. I'm just like, I could do it. Don't get me wrong. Don't doubt me. I could do it. But do I really want to? No, I don't. So I stopped doing hair. And I think that was, this is just so good. So, like, that's another thing. Like, my best friend, my current best friend, she's really good at hair. She does wigs, she does all of that stuff. So, when I graduated, I was just still trying to figure out, what do I want to do? Because when I graduated, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I used to want to be a lawyer. And I still in my mind say I would make a good lawyer because I have a good argument. But when I thought about the background of a lawyer, I'm like, I don't really want to represent people that are honestly dishonest. And it's like, you don't really figure out who's really honest and who's dishonest until you take a case or until you really know. And I was watching Girlfriends the other day, Joan, she was a lawyer, William was a lawyer, and they had to represent, I don't know if you're familiar with Girlfriends, but they had to represent this soda brand, and they were selling like overpriced things in like the black neighborhoods. And her friends are like coming down on her because, of course, both of them are black and they had to take the case. And the whole firm was like mostly white. So they gave them the case on purpose. So it was just like, I would not want to be put in that situation because it's like, you have to like think about yourself, think about other people. And it's just like the people that you're hurting in the midst. So imagine if she would have like just been like, whatever, I have to do my job, and defended those people and what they were actually doing was wrong. So that's why I steered away from wanting to be a lawyer, because I'm like, I never want to stand on the side of unjust. Like, I don't want to get somebody off a case that actually killed somebody or that raped somebody, or I'm not supporting anything that's against what I believe in. Like, if you're wrong, you're wrong. I'm not doing that. And I feel like, with being a lawyer, that's just one of those things where it's just like, yeah, you can pick and choose who you work with, but I feel like you don't really know the full story until you start digging in the case. So it's like, you can't just look at this person and be like, oh, I'm not going to take you because you white or you this or whatever. It's like, if you're innocent, you're innocent, and I'll defend you. But it's like, is that going to really get you somewhere being a lawyer? So that's why I stopped wanting to be a lawyer. But in my mind, I think about it all the time. I'm like, God, I would have made a great lawyer. Like, I can really defend somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can really bring an argument to the table. Me and the judge could go back and forth. But that's not what my passion is. Like, I don't want to do that. So I kind of changed that. And then when I got to high school, I started doing hair. But I was just like, I'm just doing hair because this is what I was told to do. When they asked me what program I was going to take up, it was just like, well, what program are you going to take up when you go there? You should do cosmetology. So I was like, okay. So I got in cosmetology, and I did cosmetology. But yeah, so I graduated. I didn't get my license because I was failing one of my classes. So it was like I couldn't take the state board because I had to pass one of these classes. So I passed the class, and then after I graduated, me and my best friend, she was helping me to study. And even when I studied, like, we did so much work, and I feel like I wasted so much time because I knew I really did not want to get my license. But I felt like if I didn't get my license, I just felt like an underachiever, and that also played a part in finding my own identity, because I felt like if I didn't get my license, my family would be like, you're just another Louise. Because that's literally, my grandma was like, your mama went there, she got her license, she did nothing with it. Your auntie, she went there, got her license, didn't do nothing with it. Your cousin, she went there, got her license, and didn't know it. And then now it's just, you went there, didn't get your license, and you did hair, and now you don't do nothing with it. So, and now I'm content with that. I'm like, I don't care, because that's not what I wanted to do. But at the time, I was just like, I have to pass this test because they're counting on me, or she's counting on me. So, it was just a battle of trying to figure out, just doing it to say I did it. And I studied so hard and I practiced, and then one day I woke up and I was like, you know what, no, I'm not doing this. Like, I literally, during the summer, I went back to my school, my cosmetology teacher, my best friend, we studied so hard. We went to the library, got books. My old cosmetology teacher, she gave me her books. Like, I was literally studying. And then one day I woke up and I was like, you know what, no, I'm not doing this. This is not what I want to do. I'm not taking this test. I wasn't mad when I didn't take it the first time. I really didn't want to take it because I didn't want to do hair. I don't want to be a cosmetologist. The only thing, like, I wanted to do was own a salon. That's it. I don't want to do nobody hair. I don't want to do nobody hair. I want to I want to be the business person. I want to own a salon and collect the money. I don't want to do nobody hair. So that for me was just like, no, I don't want to do this. So I woke up one day and I was just like, you know what? No. And I told my best friend, I was like, thank you for helping me study and but I'm just not going to do it. And I felt bad because I felt like I was wasting her time. But in my mind, I really wanted to take the test. But when I woke up, I was like, no, I don't want to take the test. I never wanted to do cosmetology in the first place. I like doing hair. I know how to do hair, but I don't want to see myself as a cosmetologist. Like, I don't want to do hair. So, yeah. I'm telling you, I could go on and on about this topic. Like, I did not know who I was for the longest for the long. And it's crazy because when you talk to people that know you or people that you would hang around all the time, and they're like, oh, I know you back then, you were so goofy, you smiled all the time, you never had a bad day. And I look at them, I'm like, you're stupid. I'm sorry, y'all, not you stupid, but it's like, no, you don't need no to have. Like, there was days where I just cried internally, laughed externally. Like, you don't know the half. And that's why I feel like, whenever somebody try to come for like my character or who I used to be, I don't acknowledge it, because I'm like, you never knew me. Because I didn't even know myself. So how can you know me and I don't know me? I'm like, you knew who I allowed you to know. You knew who I showed you. But now, and it's like, if like a person like, oh, you changed, I'm like, no, I didn't. I did change. I changed for the better, but I changed into me. I'm not everybody else now. So the stuff that you like, I'm not gonna like that. Like me, I'm just a person that I get bent on like bandwagon with stuff after everybody else gets off of it, like music, food, movies, places. Like I dance to the beat of my own drum. Literally, I do things the way that I see fit, and people are like, that's just so weird. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like literally, I had this guy that we was talking. He was just like, you're just so weird. Like, and I'm like, I'm weird. And like, I think he was like the first person to ever call me weird. And I was like, what? And then like ever since him, like people just like, you're just so weird, but it's not in a good way. Like, you're weird, but it's not like bad weird. And I'm like, okay. And then like, it's just like the stuff you talk about, or the way you carry yourself, or the conversation that you want to have. Like, people at our age don't do that. And I'm like, so that's weird? Like, so because it's abnormal to you, it's weird? Okay, so whatever. So yeah, I definitely think that finding your identity is really, really, really important. Like, you have to know who you are, man, because if not, you just basically live in a lie. And then it's like, when you find who you are and you wake up, it's like you're in a deep sleep right now. And when you wake up and you realize, like, I am so much more than this, you're going to want to do more. You may want to change careers. You may want to change where you live. You may want to change who you hang around. And people ain't going to accept that. So just be ready for that. Some people will be welcoming. It's like, oh, I like to do you. But some people, like, if they're in the mindset of, or they compliment where you're at right now and that's not who you are, just don't look for them to be there when you wake up and realize who you actually are. Because those people don't know the real you, and they don't compliment who you are. They compliment who they think you are, or who you think you are, honestly, because right now you may not know who you are. So if you lose some people on the way, it's all good, because remember, the people that you lose, God will replace with the people that you need. And I've honestly been a witness to that. I've literally had situations where I've lost people, and then literally I meet another person. It's like my life, I literally have the same people, but like every other year or every so often, I'll lose a person and then I'll gain a person, or I'll lose two people and I'll gain two people. Literally, that's just how my life has always been. The people that I talk to and that I know are people that I've known for years, and then recently I had like a few people over the last couple of years that I've met, and they're here. And it's like, okay, if I lose another person, I know that God's gonna bring me somebody else. So it's like God filters us, you know what I'm saying? Like, He filters out where we're at in our life with where we're going. So it's like, if you lose people, just know that they're not a compliment of where He's taking you. So if they leave, let them go. And sometimes it may not even be on the back. You may just like not talk to people. And I hate when people are like, oh, why you and such and such don't talk no more. It's like, we just don't talk. And it's like, nah, something had to happen. And it's like, nah, nothing happened. We just really stopped talking. Like, we grew up. We're adults now. So they got a life. I got a life. I'm trying to live life. You trying to live life. You in my business. Mind your own life. Like, you know what I'm saying? I never understood. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, something had to happen. No, nothing happened. We just fell apart. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing bad happened. I just haven't talked to her, or I haven't talked to him. So yeah. So yeah, man, like, I'm telling you, I'm excited, you guys. I'm excited. Definitely excited for this new episode that's coming out next week, because it's going to be good. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that it resonates with you some way, somehow. Again, this is personally special to me, because this is something that I battled with for the longest, and I am willing and committed myself to helping you find your true identity, not behind what people say that you're supposed to be, but what God has called you to be and what you're supposed to be. So hopefully over these next 4 weeks, I'll help you with that. If it's just you saying a prayer to the Lord to ask you or to ask him who you are and to reveal who you are, to reveal the people that are going to compliment who you are and remove the people that's not going to compliment you. Because I feel like we all have a purpose and we all have a higher calling. And I hate to be a person that look at someone as like, I don't know who that person is. But the true person, like, you ever had a person where you know exactly who they were? Like, you had an idea of them, or you had an idea of who they were, but that was not the person that they were. And then you come back around and you see this person, or you meet this person, and you guys have a different barrier, and it's like you have a different respect for them because you get to see the real person and you feel genuinely that this is that person. And then you come back around and you see this person and you see the person that you first met. You're like, this is not this person. Like, no, you need to go back to who you were. Like, I would hate for you to be that person that someone had that thought about, or hate for someone to say like you changed for the worse because this isn't the real you. And I would love for that to happen to you, because I feel like that'll help you wake up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll help you understand that the person that you are today is not the person that you're supposed to be. And you may know that, and you may have never like communicated that with someone, or you may have been praying silently to God about it, or you may have been battling in your head like, who am I? Who is this person? I don't even recognize me. Like, why am I doing this? I know better. I can do better. I have better. You know what I'm saying? Like, God showed you. And I'm telling you, man, God's going to work it out for the good. He going to bring whatever it is that you need to hear to you at the right moment, at the right place, at the right time. And I'm believing that for you. And that's why I'm committing myself 4 weeks to doing this series. And I hope that each episode hits you in a different spot. I'm not asking you to 100% to agree with what it is I'm saying, but to agree that if you are having issues with identifying who it is that you really are, that you take the time out to personally find out who it is that you are. Because once you do, I believe that there is no going back for you, because God has equipped you with better. And like I said, you may have not even told anybody this, but God got your back. So I'm excited again for these next 4 weeks. Stay tuned. Look for the next episode, part two of the F.Y.I series. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Again, if you haven't heard those episodes that I listed or mentioned in this episode, I'm going to list them in the episode notes. So take a listen to those, and just start figuring out who you are, man, because that's going to be so serious and it's going to help you in the long run. So I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope that you continue to shine like the great gems you are, and you're definitely going to shine when you figure out 100% who you are, if you have not already. If you know who you are, cool, good. I can help you by continuing to embrace the things that you may still not like about yourself, and know how to get to a point where you use what you feel is a flaw as a compliment. Because that's what I did. God revealed a lot of things to me in my life that I didn't like, and I turned it around. I prayed about it. I fasted about it, and now I've used the things that I saw as a weakness as a strength. So I appreciate you. Thank you, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye.